Whenever you are, Mark.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. I've started the Facebook Live. So thanks a lot, Gavin, for joining us. We're really excited to hear what you have to say. And so thanks for taking the time. Do you want to tell people sort of what you're all about, and maybe introduce yourself and do all that?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gavin Mogan. I appreciate being here, and I've known Mark virtually for a little while, and I really respect him. Love what he does, and love his positivity and his humor. He's a guy I've tried to get down here to come to a gym where I train.
Yeah.
Hadn't worked out yet, but I think we're gonna be able to do that virtually. Make sure the camera's still on me. I got my son holding the camera for me on my phone. If I can start out, hopefully I'd like to show something on my computer and see if it shows up on the phone. It'd be a little bit of I don't know if it's comedy or education, but I'd like to get your thoughts on it. It's something that I think is pretty cool. Sort of, maybe you can call it my intro music. Bring the phone over here. See if you Mark, make sure this shows up okay. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, kind of. We can see a band there.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, a little bit. It
makes me. I thought you said you had it. I know, but I just trying to say that. All right, that's good. Okay. Just interested in anybody have any thoughts on that before we get started? Any initial take? You like the song? You like the video? Or
I couldn't really make out the words or anything, to be honest.
Okay. Well, the reason I show that is because I can relate a lot to him, and I think a lot of us probably can. Here's this guy. He's on the David Letterman show. It's back in 2014. It's their initial like introduction to the larger world. And you got this dad-looking guy. You know, he doesn't look like a typical rock star, doing a funny dance and just really into the song. And I love that. I love his passion. He is who he is. He just lets it all hang out, and then, you know, however people accept that, that's up to them. But he's just being all himself right there and letting it all hang out. And I love that. And that's what I certainly hope to do in this talk, and always, really. So, as I was saying, my name is Gavin Mogan. I've had Parkinson's for 12 years. And can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. And I have a son who's 15, holding the camera. I have a daughter who's 11. I started a personal training business a couple years ago. That's quieted down because of COVID, which I really enjoyed. Hope to get that back. But in the meantime, I came up with this crazy idea. Mark, since we last talked, I don't know if you know about this, but I came up with this idea called Mow with the Flow, where I'm out mowing yards for people and hiring people with disabilities or challenges or Parkinson's, and ideally for people with disabilities or challenges or Parkinson's or you know, otherwise hardships in life. We can't afford to take care of the yard. So if I can show one more thing online, is to kind of help explain what I'm doing now. It's kind of a change of pace, but I really enjoy it. It gets me my exercise, gets me out in the community, connects me with people, and hopefully makes a little money and hires people who need to be hired. You know this, and everyone listening probably knows this. You know, we have trouble getting the kind of employment that we should get. So this is at least something to give people some self-esteem and a sense of team spirit about them. Let's see. Hopefully, this will show up too. Just a second. The news did this story on us, so it's easier. The news did a better job than I could of explaining it.
But one North Texas entrepreneur saw an opportunity to tend yards while tending souls. Noel Walker has the story.
I like the mow.
For most people,
But normally I'd have a second lawnmower.
a pandemic is not the best time to start a new business.
We respond to it like, okay, it's our time to lead.
Gavin Mogan isn't like most people.
Hey, I'm competing with teenagers, and that's hard because their prices are low. So my offer is like, hey, but watch us, we're a spectacle.
To do this physical job,
Kind of walk like us, like
you need physical challenges.
Like, to me, I walk normal like everybody else.
Charles Tillman has cerebral palsy.
fatigue, tremor, stiffness. That's my biggest thing is stiffness.
Gavin Mogan has Parkinson's disease. He started Mow with the Flow when the pandemic limited his work as a personal trainer for people with disabilities.
I thought, why don't I get a mowing operation going, staffed by people with Parkinson's or other disabilities, to mow for people with Parkinson's or people with disabilities.
A connection that's part meditation,
You're in that moment,
part rehabilitation.
Exercise is vital to fighting off the symptoms.
A sense of acceptance, a sense of like I'm not the only one like by myself in this. Like,
The pandemic has forced everyone to drift outside the lines. While they may be new to lawn care, this crew were already experts at adapting.
There's a show out there, but if they're getting the job done and doing a good job, maybe we can do a lot more than we think we can too.
Their business is lawn care. Their purpose is showing how to care for one another. This job was free for a disabled homeowner.
I think the world could be a better place, to be honest. Like, people just have to take the time to have more compassion.
Like grass, love grows if you tend it.
Love is a prescription that's not filled enough. We can all use more of it. We all have more to give.
In Dallas, Noel Walker, NBC5.
Could you hear that okay?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That catches you up to date with where I'm at now. It's been a while since I was engaged for this talk about 6 months ago, whereas normally, 6 minutes of lead time is a lot for me normally. With Parkinson's or stuff like that, you never know how you're going to be feeling, and I've learned to go with the flow. So I just want to update everyone, update you especially, what I'm doing now, and that's kind of been my form of exercise. I don't have time to work out after doing all that mowing, and it's a great workout anyway. So
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. The summer's been brutal, but we'll see what happens in the winter. Hopefully the personal training comes back, and hopefully I can do some of both. If Luke can bring the camera over here, get back. So while I'm doing this, first of all, I love to play basketball, and this is where I'm comfortable, and I can loosen up. I've been feeling stiff right up to the time we started, and my talk is really about staying in rhythm in life and flow, and being able to let go of everything in the outside, just kind of be where you're at, be present, and be able to consistently do everything the same, whether I'm by myself or in front of 10 people or 1,000 people or whatever, just doing that task and being really involved in that task. So that's what I want to do while I talk for a little while until it gets dark. And I'm going to just start taking some shots, because frankly, if I can't do this, I'm not worth listening to. Doesn't mean I have to make everyone, but I need to be able to get into a zone or a mode where I'm comfortable and in a rhythm. And I recommend anyone at home, get into your own rhythm while you're listening. Bounce a ball or do it, stand up and stretch, or dance if you can, or whatever the case. But find that rhythm that makes your mind and body connect, and it's very therapeutic. So as I start here, very soon, this helps me unstiffen. And I love basketball, as I said, and you can modify any way you need. Any sport. I love sports in the form of fitness.
It's close.
Yeah, well, that's my first shot. So I don't know how many people are watching. Is there any baseball fans out there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. My story begins with a baseball player named A.J. Pollock. Now, A.J. Pollock is a center fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he's not only a baseball player, but he's a recent father. He had a daughter that was born at 24 weeks earlier in the year. That's about 3 months early. And so she was in nursery intensive care during the pandemic, most of that time. And not only AJ was dealing with all that with his wife, and it's their first child, but also he got COVID about a month or two ago prior to the baseball season beginning. So he was dealing with COVID, his newborn daughter in ICU, born at under 2 pounds. And then they finally brought her home. They got her home at 8 pounds. She was healthy when they got her home. But then that involved all the care the hospital was giving for her. Now they had to do it at home. And they weren't comfortable putting feeding tubes in and things like that. It was very hectic, chaotic. And somehow, through all this, Pollock was able to, as the season began, he performed better than he ever has, which is just unheard of. Like, it's not something we think is possible when you're dealing with all this stuff off the field. It certainly would get in the way of being a professional athlete, but yet he got off to a better start than he really ever has in his 9-year career. And it defies kind of the conventional wisdom, and I think I have a pretty good idea why. And so the reason I'm talking about A.J. Pollock, and the reason I feel like I understand this, is because well, first of all, I think his story is applicable to a lot of us, to me and to you and to him and to her. His challenges are what we go through all the time, almost every day. In fact, if not every day. And so I think there's a lot to be learned from that. And I know for a fact what helped him a lot was the same person who's helped me a lot, because he was a friend of mine growing up who became a professional baseball coach. And I just have the good fortune of knowing him for 40 years of my life. And he works with these guys, and he's developed this method to really get to the soul of these guys and help them perform to the highest level by getting them at peace with themselves. So the way and it's kind of like an iceberg. It's kind of deep. There's many layers to it, but I've seen Matt work this stuff before with many other players and myself, and I think I could put a few points on it. And one of those points would be, no matter what our problems are, how many, how deep, what they are, they kind of all boil them down to one problem, if you will. And it's really not even a problem. It's just us. It's our mental state. It's our ability to adapt, to deal with outside influences. I wouldn't call that a problem, but it's one issue we can work on. No matter what all these other things are around us, you get peace with that one, and you can accomplish so much more. So, and that's what Matt did with A.J. Pollock. So, it's really kind of that. And you'll hear a video I have A.J. Pollock talking about it in a minute. He talks about starts out with being present. You can't worry about all your other problems when you're present in that very moment, right then and there. And it has to be real. You can't say, well, you can't try to be present, or we all try at first, but you need to really putting yourself in a position to be present as much as possible. Otherwise, trying to be present, it's not going to come. It's not really going to work for you as well. It's like meditation. You can try to meditate, and that's a positive thing to do, or you can sort of make meditation a life practice. Starting to get more fluidity in here, and that's something that all of us expect in life is be able to come up with a plan and then execute that plan as if the world around us is going to be stable and not change and not adapt around us. But what happens in life is the world is constantly moving, it's flowing, and we have to sort of jump in that flow, or we're going to get left behind, or we're going to get run over. So we sort of our expectations are, hey, we're never going to get sick, or we're never going to get never going to have a child with some problems at birth, or we're never going to run into any other challenges. We don't factor in those things. And so by factoring in that stuff, by adapting, by realizing you can adapt in any situation, then you're free to, so ran off track. Let me take a shot and get back on track. Get my flow going. See, that's the kind of thing that helps me stay in the flow and just keep my rhythm going. And that's another thing that AJ Pollock talks about is, he was able to find a calmness when everything around him was chaotic. He had to find calm. That was his only chance to survive or thrive or keep his family held together, was to find calm at the hospital. And naturally, it just translated itself over to the baseball field. Like it never left him. And so he was able to play better than ever. It's really an odd thing, but it makes a lot of sense because I've seen it time and time again. It's something that we all, I think, can learn something from with our own issues that we go through. And the harder things are, that can become like our practice. So not necessarily, just getting through the things we get through. If we think of it as a way of practicing to overcome hardship and adversity, we're ready for whatever adversity comes our way later. So that's another reason I like to come out here and play basketball and get into that rhythm. I know if I can perform out here, if I can stay calm and relaxed and in a rhythm, I can take this off the court as well. I can take it anywhere with me I want. I would shoot some three-pointers, but that's getting dark. So, trying to think if there's anything else I want to say before I run this video of AJ Pollock.
I have the video queued up. It'd probably be better if I played it.
Oh, yeah. You want to play it?
Yeah. It's the one you posted with
Yeah,
AJ.
it's on Facebook. Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead and run that, please.
Okay. Sure. Does everyone see my screen? Okay.
Hey,
I'm sorry?
Yeah. I'm honored that you even want to mention me in your speech, but I'm assuming you want a little piece about me having a daughter at 24 weeks and getting COVID and preparing for a baseball season. Yeah, I would say that the thing I learned about going through this whole last 6 months with one thing after another, everything just going wrong. In Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Well, that happened, and I think when you're so present and you're just, every part of your day is just, you're focused on each task, and everything is important. Everything that you're doing right now is important. You don't have time to notice things that are going wrong. You're just completely dealing with what's in front of you. That was something that I got really good at. And it's not to ignore it and say, oh, everything's good, and just kind of be fake about it. No, this situation sucks. But I'm moving through it. And, what I'm dealing with right now in this very moment is the most important thing in my life. That was the mentality. And it helped me enjoy a lot of things too, instead of thinking about what could go wrong down the road and what the future of my daughter could look like. It was more, no, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. What's going on right now, just being with her right now is the most important thing in my life. And because of that, I was able to enjoy her a lot more. I was able to enjoy who she was right then. I think with baseball coming up, all the things that were going on in my life, and then knowing that I have to prepare for a baseball season. Baseball is, in my opinion, the hardest game in the world. And it's a grueling season. It's long. It's every day. The baseball world will tell you, you have to swing so many times. You have to throw so many times. You have to run. You have to do this. You have to do that in order to prepare for a season. And if you believe that, and you stress on that, then there's going to be panic. Especially in my situation where most of my day was at the hospital. And to me, that became the practice. That became, me dealing with stuff and news from the doctors, and the ups and downs, and me handling that with calmness is getting me ready for baseball season. There's nothing in baseball that's going to be that hard, compared to what I'm dealing with now. And so if I can handle that with calmness, yeah, of course, I'm going to take my swings, and, I'm going to throw it, but I'm not going to stress on how many and dwell on that. It was a complete refocus of my mind, and I didn't let anything get in the way of that. And I think that's why when I came back to play, there was just that calmness about me still, because I never stopped being calm. I had to deal with a lot of things that would make me spike emotionally, and instead of spiking, I was able to handle it calm. So naturally, when I get to baseball season, that never changed. And I see a lot of correlations with what you're dealing with and with Parkinson's. It's not just go to the doctor, and when you're going there, then you start dealing with stuff, and you start learning how to handle Parkinson's. No, it's every second of the day. And I think it's awesome. I love that video of you in the park. I thought that was so cool. And I'm sure your whole day is filled with situations and stuff just like that. I think it's amazing. Anyways, I wish you the best, and I hope this video helps. You can chop it down any way you want. That's definitely not 30 seconds. But
Okay. Okay. Done, Gavin. Where'd he go? Hi, Gavin. We're done.
Okay. Yeah, I just need to turn this around. Sorry, hold on, I'm here.
Yep.
Change the. All right. I'll get over here then. Turn this around this way. Now can you see me? Am I in the picture?
Yes.
Okay. So really, the message I wanted to give today was about shifting our perspective, and how that can, I think there's a very important message for all of us, especially those of us with these kind of challenges where we have to take a new perspective in order to survive and to live the way we want to live. So I think that's nice backstory, but what I want to kind of take away, I hope everyone gets from this, is you can shift your perspective of yourself. I look at it as three shifts of perspective. There's yourself, and I think oftentimes with disabilities or health challenges, we feel pretty beaten up by the world. It's not a place necessarily designed for us. So, but that's not that. The world is wrong. There's a lot of value to all of us. There's a lot of good in us. We don't have to believe the world. We know what we are. And so once we get a belief in ourselves, a value, an understanding of what we can do, I think really our limits become much, much further off. The second thing is get a new perspective of the world. And that's understanding what the world is. It's made up of people like us, but it's still a world that's not necessarily designed for us. And it's designed a lot of times to make us feel inferior, maybe not intentionally, but we're going to feel less than we should. And the world is the world. It's going to have its problems, and we need to deal with it. There's no problem in the world. Only as we see it is it a problem. So we need to deal with that as that comes, to realize, the world is not, I wouldn't say the world is out to get us, but take the perspective of what happens in the world. We need to adapt to what we can change, and then let go of what we cannot change. And I think that's something you've probably all heard before, but it's very, very important. And so you got a new perspective on yourself, a new perspective of the world. And then the third thing you might guess is a new perspective on how they interconnect, our place in the world and what our capabilities are and what we can do in the world. That becomes a new perspective of our interaction, and we got a sense of self and a sense of what the world, a new perspective on what the world is, and now our place in it. And hopefully it's a place that a perspective that is not as concerned as it used to be about what the world thinks of us, and more so concerned about how we view ourselves and what we're capable of doing. So that probably didn't come out the way I intended to, but those three perspectives are what I'd like to leave you with. Yourself, and hopefully some of the things I've given you today are tools, because it's hard to just start believing in yourself if you don't have that self-esteem in yourself. Where does that come from? But I think it can come from practice, for one thing, and training and meditation. It can be maybe it doesn't happen overnight, but over time continue to reinforce the beliefs, be around positive people, positive thinking, and over time you become better at dealing with these things. I've had Parkinson's now for 12 years, and life gets harder, as the audience knows, but you become better at dealing with it. And so I still feel like I'm learning more every day. I'm still outgaining Parkinson's as it gains on me. And the final thing I want to say, maybe I can play this video. I'll try to do this one more time. Is, I like to close with this guy named David Fabora, who owns the Adaptive Training Foundation gym here in Dallas, Texas, which is a gym specifically designed for people with disabilities. And it's so empowering. And he's all about self-discovery, the power of self-discovery.
We've talked to Sean Fitzmaurice before.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mark?
We've talked to Sean Fitzmaurice before.
Okay, yeah, yeah, great guy. Sorry, I think you'd asked me and I couldn't do it, but Sean, yeah, he's a great trainer over there. And what David Pecora, he's an ex-NFL football player.
Yeah.
Played 4 years in the league, and he tells a story of there's one of his coaches at some point along the line used to walk up to him and during practice and whisper, "Hey man, it's in you, it's in you." And David would always wonder what that meant. Finally, coach whispered that to him, like, "Hey man, it's in you." And David came out and asked him and said, "What's in me? What the F is it?" And the coach said, "It is whatever you need it to be." And I really like that, and I feel like that's true. There's something in us. There's something in us that if we search, we work on that self-discovery and believe in ourselves, we can find that it makes us more powerful than we ever thought we would be. And I really believe it's there. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in others, especially at the Adaptive Training Foundation gym. I know it can be brought out in anyone. It's a question of how to do it, and I hope if people in your group have not already found it, I certainly hope it doesn't take much longer to find it, because once you have that belief that you can tackle anything, that no problem is too great for you, fear, worry, doubt, they don't go away, but they're all lessened, and the quality of life goes up immensely, and what you're able to do for yourself and for others just becomes exponential, as opposed to living as feeling like someone who has low control. And being able to have some control of yourself again, know that you can have some control over what you're able to do and what you're able to accomplish, and your influence on people around you, it's immeasurable. So let's see if I can play this video. Sorry about this. Let's see. Turn this around here. Start it again. So that's really all I got. So if anybody has any questions, happy to answer anything.
Sure. Let me just unmute everyone and or invite everyone to unmute themselves, and they can go ahead and ask questions if they want to. Anyone have any questions? over, Gavin. So I'll go ahead and ask a question. Gavin, the video wasn't entirely clear, but I think it was trying to point out that we could obviously see you having trouble walking at the beginning of the video. And then I think, I'm not exactly clear, you invited or you asked for some help from those people there and maybe invited them to play a game of baseball with you, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of got you moving.
Well, I just asked for help, and they took that to mean prayer, which is kind of what I was leading to.
Right.
And we took a knee. He said a prayer to me, and that helped me, give me the inspiration. It was the use of emotion to create motion within me. I don't know if that's something that you've seen in people with ataxia before to help movement, but I've found it possible with Parkinson's when I'm in these moments of stiffness and rigidity and freezing, that I can escape that using a change of emotion, conjuring up some strong feeling that overrides Parkinson's symptoms.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. I had written down one question for that I thought of asking you. What, like, sometimes we have this vision of who we used to be, and we, you know, we have a tough time reconciling who we are now with who we used to be and what we used to be able to do. And how do you cope with that?
Yeah, great question. Probably same as you, but what I try to do is forget yesterday. Forget yesterday. It's hard. The hard thing is the degenerative disease is it takes a little more each day. But I think I've much better learned to let go of yesterday, and today is my new day. My head is in today, and once you become, like AJ talked about, once you become more present and really are more present, you don't worry about that stuff anymore. You realize what we had is gone, but it doesn't mean we can't build up something new in some other area. So, you know, what Parkinson's takes from me today, I can find some other area to grow in tomorrow to help offset it. And you have to have that kind of mindset, or, I mean, it'll eat you up. There's no doubt. I mean, it's a great question. Without that kind of a perspective that the neurological disease is going to get what it wants from you. Our only hope is to delay the course of that timing of that. But yet there's still so many areas we can develop ourselves and grow in and love and share and, you know, learn and grow. So I try to look at it like that. Like, sure, I'm getting stuff taken from me, but I can find ways to offset it. And I know I've still got many more. And I wake up every day. I mean, look, we've all made it this far as like we have, and we're all here in this group and contributing and hopefully all doing well. And just trust that you'll wake up tomorrow and be able to do the same thing. The next day, the same thing. You will always find ways to adapt, because that's who we are. And, you know, everyone's done it through time. And so you find out with the pandemic too, we all have to adapt, and we're better at it now than people who are not used to it. So at least we're sort of used to this stuff.
Is there anyone else that has any questions for Gavin?
Gavin, I got a comment for you.
You're on mute, Amy.
That's Robert.
No, and I was telling Amy she was on mute.
Oh,
Amy, you're on mute.
I was going to ask a question too.
Okay, go ahead.
Were you a personal trainer before you were diagnosed, or did you decide to become one afterwards?
Came on about 10 years after I was diagnosed. And reasons why, one, I really loved exercise and it did so much for me. And I know I could help a lot of people in a situation like myself. But the second thing, it was really disappointing because you can't find someone to hire you very easily with a disability like Parkinson's, or, people say they will adapt around you or provide you the type of environment. But at the end of the day, it was hard for me to find the right fit. And I was very disappointed because I knew I could provide someone with some employer with a great employee. So I just had to go out and do it myself. And I'm glad I did. It's harder that way, but I didn't like all the marketing and stuff like that. But in self-promotion, I really enjoy just being with people and training them. And, I've been fortunate enough to be able to find some people to train I would like more, especially now in 2020. It's tough. I need to probably do some online training, but, there's very few people who can afford it. So I don't know. I want to keep doing it. I love it. But I got into it 10 years after I was diagnosed, and it was so good for me to have that kind of a challenge, and have that something new, just to keep myself fresh, as fresh as possible, and working with people and finding and doing as much as I can for everyone. There might be someone on the call. I can't see who's on the call, who I worked with a lot with Parkinson's. She has Parkinson's and epilepsy. She's the one who turned in the story to the news, who did that Mo with the Flow news story. But I was able to help her a lot. And so much of it was not only physical, but it's the emotional side and the mental side, and getting your head wrapped around you have this disease, and how do you move forward with it? It's half that, and physical becomes the easy part once you can help a person be okay to move forward with their degenerative disease, and not have that weigh on you constantly, but just be able to have peace with it. And that's I just want to bring people peace with their life, and then let them go from there. Once the person has peace, really you're kind of unstoppable at that point.
I agree. I think once people come to the acceptance phase and just, okay, well, here's what it is, but it takes a while to get there.
Completely agree. Yeah. And there's always that give and take between accept or defy. How much do I accept and how much do I defy? I see myself more as, most of my Parkinson's life, I was diagnosed at 38. I think I've considered myself fighting the disease, fighting it, but that just steals a lot of my energy. And, I get the reference, the fight reference and all, but the more I work with Parkinson's and not against it, not oppose it, saves my energy. And, it's a form of acceptance to say, okay, here's what it'll allow me to do today. But to constantly fight it and defy it, it's very frustrating. And but I think peace is found with mostly through acceptance, but at the same time constantly trying to grow. Maybe not fight the Parkinson's, because it is what it is, but where else can we grow? Or ataxia. I keep referring to Parkinson's. So that's what I know. So anyway, completely agree that acceptance is critical. The sooner the better, and everyone kind of has to come at their own pace. I just wasn't ready to fully accept it early on. You couldn't make me. The light went out. So anyway, hope that answers that question. Okay.
I think the small change I think there's one word that could sort of shift the perspective. Instead of thinking I'm going to fight ataxia or fight Parkinson's or fight whatever, consider that I'm going to fight with ataxia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use that ataxia as a strength instead of a weakness.
You just made it a superpower.
Yeah, right.
No, it's brilliant. I love it. New perspective for sure. Now, there really has to be some truth to it so that it's got to feel real. You can't just say these things.
Right.
I see what you're saying. I agree. Like, whatever you can take your biggest challenge in life and turn it on its side and make it now work for you, you're unstoppable. So, yeah, make Ataxia because really, yeah, we've been dealt a blow in life. It's not what we had in mind, not what we envisioned. And yesterday we could function better than today, but yet we've learned so much. There's so many things that we've taken from this disease. And because we have that will, that spirit, there's something in us that's going to find the good in life and find a drive and a power and a place to give this energy and to give this what we have left. We're driven for that, and so we'll find whatever it takes to do that. I love that. The guy that did that with the group, I can't remember, he did like a poem a day or two ago. It was beautiful, man, and he talked about how he'd never give up, and I can't remember his name, but I don't know if he's on the call today, but I love that. I love some of the things you put out there, Mark, that one about the wheelchair. This is not my, I can't remember what you said. This is not my.
You mean the T-shirt I posted?
Yeah.
It said, somebody remind me, it said, my wheelchair doesn't confine me, it liberates me, or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I used to go into stores or anywhere in public and be ashamed of my lack of movement or my inability to walk and have people look at me. I hated that, but now I don't care. I almost welcome it. I don't flaunt it, but now someone wants to watch me move awkwardly and see how I figure out how to move. That's always a challenge for me. Yeah, getting through stores sometimes is rough, but the fact that I get in there and get out every single time, that builds so much pride in me, and for my family to see that, because that's what my family is going to inherit from me, whether they like it or not. There's not any money for them, that's for sure, but hopefully they inherit some sort of spirit or example of how to live life through adversity, because that I'm very determined in that now, and it doesn't matter to me that the world is not designed for me or people with disabilities. I make it the world I need to live in, and once you sort of develop that look, or take things and turn it on its side from how people normally look at them, and truly live that way, there's no stopping you, and you can inspire so many people behind you, and so many people need that. There's 30 million people with disabilities in this country alone. I go mow, and I sometimes, if I don't have a house property scheduled for that day, I drive up and down streets and I find properties that are overgrown and just a mess. And I'll go to the door, because someone's in that house who's probably disabled, probably depressed, probably can't afford to have their yard done. And if I go knock on that door and get them to let me do their yard for free or for little or no money, I'm changing someone's day easily, if not, their whole outlook on the way they view the world. And it's just mowing, but to me, that's how I connect with people. And to be able to give someone hope, and a typical example is, if I'll go knock, this happens a lot, so I'll go knock. A person, if they answer me, they'll talk from behind the door. They'll say, "Who is it?" And I'll say, "Well, it's I'd like to mow for you. Is there, would you let me take care of your yard for free or for very low money?" And then they'll open up the door and peek through the door and say, well, how much would you charge? What would you do? And we talk about it. Next thing you know, the door is open. And oftentimes when I start getting out there working, they're out there with me. And that's the first time many of them have gotten out in long periods of time. And so it's amazing. I love doing that. I love to be able to have that connection. We can all do it, and just the simple things in life, because there's so many people going through a lot, especially now with the pandemic. I got a guy who, when I mow, or edge or power wash, I do power washing too. He walks with me every step of the way and talks to me because he's just lonely. He's a great guy, but no one comes over there to see him. He's an older guy with health problems, and I love it. I love it because I know that I'm giving him a time where he can just speak and be with people and take care of it and have his yard done and feel better about himself, and look forward to me coming again next time. So it doesn't take much, but a lot of times just shifting that perspective and sharing it with others, you know, we have the ability to change lives I never could have done. I never knew how to do before Parkinson's, but now I have so much more understanding of suffering and how to help people get out of it, because I've been there, we've been there, and to be able to flip that and now be in a position where I can pull people out because of friends like my baseball coach friend Matt, who helped pull me out. Now I want to be the guy, and David Vibora, I want to be the guy just helping to pull out other people. But I think ultimately they have to pull themselves out, but just help throw ropes, help them discover how to get out of it, and that's how they'll build up a love for themselves and a belief in themselves. Be there for those people is something we can all do and feel. I think that you asked a question like, how do we get over what we could do yesterday and can't do today? Maybe it's how much more can we do for someone else today that we didn't know how to do yesterday, offsetting that way. So sorry, I tend to ramble.
Okay. Joel asked, how long have you had Parkinson's? I think he said 10 years, 15 years?
12 years.
12 years, right.
I was diagnosed at 38. I had a 3-year-old, and my second child was, my wife was pregnant with our second child. And so I knew like I was going to have to manage this disease really well for a long period of time. It's been very motivating for me. Very hard, and not easy for my family. But we've all had rough patches, and I'm very grateful for the health care I do have, and the insurance, and the friends that I've been surrounded with, and inspiration, and the medication I do have to help me out with this disease. Now my intention is to give back as much as possible.
Joe asked, did you travel to clients or train out of a space pre-COVID?
Both. Mostly I went to client houses because that's where the need was. Mostly it's people, I worked with a lot of people who didn't get around very much anymore. So going to their home and training them in areas that they enjoyed doing and it needed for functionality to be around, functionality to do things around their home, and trying to increase their functionality, get out of a wheelchair or stay out of a wheelchair, things like that. But I also work with people in gyms at Adaptive Training Foundation. But most of the time, gyms don't like other trainers in there, which is all the same with me because I enjoyed working with a person in their home.
Right.
And whatever was most convenient for them. Sometimes it was a park or a tennis court. We'd meet in the middle somewhere, whatever they could do. I just wanted to be amenable to whatever their need was. So that was the goal.
And I think you answered this, but Joel asked, do people look at you weird? Because us with Ataxia certainly get lots of weird looks.
Yeah. So the question was, you get lots of weird looks. What was the question?
Yeah, that was the question.
Do I get lots of weird looks?
Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on my state of my medication. So I'm fortunate enough that when my medication's on, the person usually can't tell I have Parkinson's, but 1 hour out of every 4 hours throughout the course of a day, I struggle to move. And sometimes I need to move, even though I'm struggling to move. And it's very evident that I have some condition. So and people don't understand it. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure, but at the same time, I don't pay that much attention to how people look at me anymore. That's kind of the shift of perspective is I got my things I need to take care of. How people perceive that is none of my business. I put out there in the world my very best and what I can possibly do, and how people receive that, none of my business. And but you saw the feature on Mow with the Flow, some of us how we mow, and I had a guy with cerebral palsy that I saw him on the street, and he was a panhandler. He was looking for change, and he definitely walked unusual. And I said, I want that guy mowing with me because no one's probably ever given him an opportunity in his life. And he's out here panhandling. He was born with cerebral palsy. And, I want him to feel like he could, an opportunity to do something, be a part of something, and contribute to something. And he was a great mower for me. And so, I noticed him that way. And I see things weird. Like when I see people like that, like, I don't want to say it's like the hot chick at the bar, but like that catches my eye. Like I gravitate to that. Like I have so much admiration and respect for people who are able to function in the world with less physical mobility than others, or whatever the case may be. Like if you can function in this world with a lot of times 50% or 40% or 30% or whatever we're down to, like what a great achievement that is. I'm so proud of all of us. And so that's what my mowing business is just pride in what we do. And you should see us when we mow. We're a spectacle sometimes out there trying to finish a mow, but that's when the drive kicks in and the energy and to get that job done, even though I kind of use the mower as a walker at times. And I know we get looks in, but you know what? That's how we made the news. That's how we connect with people. It's like, wow, look what those guys are doing. And so that's another thing you can turn on its side is, people give you weird looks to like, to be proud of that and to show like nothing's going to stop us anyway. There's no reason to ever be ashamed or hide anything. None whatsoever. Whatever it is you need, whatever it is you considered your deficiency, forget that. That's where the world is beating us down, and that thought should not even exist in our head. I'm sorry.
Okay, I think that we always assume, probably wrongly, that when people look at us weird, that something is wrong with us, right? Maybe the problem is with them.
Yeah, I like that. See, I like the way you think, Mark, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the world does not understand disability, and they run from it and they hide from it, and they don't think about it. But like what we do with disability, like what we're still able to do, and how we adapt. The world could learn a lesson from us in this pandemic about adapting to difficult circumstances, because that's what we've done our whole lives, or through our course of our illness anyway. And so I'm very proud of that. And it's taken a while to get there, but you're not going to have a good, happy life otherwise, I don't think. Hiding and shame and cowing down to other people's misconceptions about you, that's not for me anymore. Not at all.
Sometimes I think to myself when people look at me funny, like, yeah, ataxia isn't contagious, but stupidity is. So I don't say it though, but I think it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's hard not to get frustrated with people sometimes, but when I'm at my best, I realize that they just don't understand. Like, how could someone understand what we go through? There's just no way. My own family can't understand what I go through, and they see me every day, but yet they don't know. They see it, but they don't feel it. And so because we feel it, no one can feel it. And so, like, I feel like it makes it special in a way. Like, we feel this suffering, but we also feel this peace. You know what? Just a range of feelings and emotions that no one else can feel. Not always good, but like, imagine that, how that sets us apart. And don't let that. I hope that don't let that get you down or feel like you're lesser than. It's just different, and different, not disabled, just differently abled. There's a lot to that, but when you stop believing in what the world tells you, and just stop and look at yourself and see all the reasons you have to believe in yourself. Find what's inside of you that you need to give to the world, because I don't know about you guys, but I realized much more about myself when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and life became much more meaningful and important. And I quit putting on shows, and I quit. No, I'm not saying entirely. Image is still fairly important. I'm not entirely without. I'm not entirely without self. I can't remember the word. Anyway, but
How much?
Yeah.
How much
I've come a long
have
way,
you?
and I feel
How
so
much-
much like not having to worry about that stuff. I tell you what, I've given up on news because it's just too frustrating and stressful. I've cast that off. I've cast off a lot of my past self-doubts about myself, given up on that. And so, those two things, among other things, like, I'm so much better off as a human being with my mind away from those things and keep my mind healthy in ways how can I add to society and not how I can benefit from society. But I look at that and say, I'm a better person now than before Parkinson's. There's no doubt in my mind. So even though I struggle more and it's hard on my family, but there's gonna come a time when they'll remember their dad. There's more than just the years now. There's years after I'm gone that ideally, I'll be remembered for the rest of their lives. And it'll help dictate how they want to live their lives more so than the dad who had no real, I want to say I wouldn't have examples to leave them, but now I'm much more adamant about, and it's very obvious how I live my life and how I connect with other people and how I involve them in that. And it's, I've been involved in this operation in Africa, and I'm getting off track, but that's so big to me is Parkinson's disease in Uganda, and how I can help a whole continent get access to Parkinson medication. That's life-changing for the life of them, but people behind them. And that's a big thing for me. Like, if I can do that, like, that's something I never would have been involved in prior to Parkinson's. But to be able to get myself involved in something like that and have my kids aware of that, and I see it in little example. I'm going on too long. But you see, it shows up in little things with my kids, little things here and there, and you see like, wow. And I'll tell you one more thing that you probably have to close out. So when I was diagnosed, prior to my diagnosis, I had my son Luke, who was just a baby. And, you know, they're so precious at that age. And you don't want anything bad to happen to them. You love them so much. There's a kind of love that you never felt before in your life. It's the love of this child in your life. And I used to pray to God and say, God, anything that may befall this child of mine or my second child or whatever, anything hard in life, give it to me because I can handle it. I don't want them to have to suffer, you know, outside the ordinary things that go on, but I just didn't want them to suffer in life so much. And not long after I started that, praying that way, is when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And it was almost like a prayer answered. And I said, okay, I get it. Thank you. And so belief being, I was taking this for my children so that maybe they don't have to go through it in life. And I was more than happy to do that. And I remind myself of that very often now. And it's so, I don't know, I do feel like it's a prayer answered, and there's something to that we fight this fight for other people so they don't have to go through with it. And because we're strong enough to endure it. I've taken a lot from that. That's helped me a great deal. And living in the present, you know, just enjoying every day, every moment, the benefit of being here with you tonight and trying to fighting through this speech rather than flowing through it like I wanted. But it's a work in progress, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me, Mark, because I really I have this perspective on a lot of things, but I haven't really accomplished anything great yet. But I do, you know, in my life, I just want to accomplish the little things every day. And that's more than a great success for me. So I'm still happy to answer any questions. I'm just trying to wrap up. So
yeah, I think we'll take one more question from Beth. She was asking, was it a process for you to develop this state of mind?
Yeah, what's the process for me to develop a state of mind? Yeah, good question. I think everyone probably gets there on their own, but and, you know, and Matt worked with me. I'll back up to how Matt worked with me, the same way he does with these baseball players, because it's the same thing. The athletic challenge and the health challenge are really the same thing, just two opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, the athlete is trying to prepare his mind and body and spirit as best as possible to perform as best he or she can. And those of us with health challenges trying to prepare our mind, body, and spirit, you know, just to get through each day. And the first thing Matt stressed with me was two things, really. And AJ talked about them. Calm. Have a filter of calm. Whatever comes your way, send it through the calm filter. The second thing is be present. And that's a hard one. It's hard to force, but put yourself in positions that allow you to be present. Don't try to, okay, I got to be present. Try to trick your mind into being present. But really be in a position of letting things go around you so you can only be in that moment. And that is a process. Those two things, though, stay calm, be present, and then things start to fall in place after that. Like you find a peace with yourself, a peace with whatever you have to struggle with, and you perform better with calm and being in the present. Like you function better, you're happier. Those two things are critical. So use meditation. People ask my friend Matt, I say, well, wow, you know, you really got this figured out. Do you meditate? And he says, well, not really, because my life is a meditation. And he means it. He means it. Like he's to a point now where he doesn't have to go meditate to escape the world. His life is a meditation, and he can accept the world, you know, accept the world as is, because he's in that state that he can adapt to it. as opposed to a lot of people who meditate. And I'm not down on meditation because it is very useful for a lot of people, but oftentimes it can be their escape from the world, when really what you want is something that blends you into the world and allows you to deal with the stress or the chaos of the world around you. But if you put everything through that calm filter, it doesn't have to look chaotic, it doesn't have to look stressful, or pressure is self-imposed. And so I'm not saying I'm there all the time, but I've come a long way. It's helped me a ton, and getting my mind to understand myself, self-discovery, and understand the world and my place and what I'm capable of doing within the world. And I fail a lot. I still fail a lot, but it doesn't matter. I don't really look at it as failure. It's just part of the process of going through to, walking through life. The journey through life is, you're not failing, you're not trying very hard. So that doesn't bother me at all either. It used to really hold me back, fear and failure. I was like most people, but now, if I worried about that, I'd never leave the house, because I'm to the point now where I do look funny when I get out and about and walk. Oftentimes it happens unexpectedly. And so, I take that as like a challenge for me, rather than as something to keep me ashamed or to hold me back. Is I almost welcome failure, because it pushes me to get past it and to grow as a person. And having that I call it athletic mindset. That's the way athletes think. It really translates into dealing with their health challenges. And I've seen there's just a lot of interplay, a lot of overlap in those of us. And so, when in doubt, just try to look at things as an athlete would, and try to find. That's what athletes are all trying to do, is be present and find peace with themselves. And I'll say one more thing. So it's just connectivity. So it's very hard to separate this part of your life and this part of your life and this part of your life. It's really all connected. And the more you can just flow through that connection, without stopping, starting, without turning this off and turning this on and flipping a switch here and becoming that, the more you just are yourself all day. And you don't have to get into this comfortable rhythm with yourself. You don't have to disconnect and disrupt and lose your harmony. Well, I'm getting off track here, but that's probably too far into it. But think about how I like to think of everything is connected. Everyone is connected, and we don't always know how, but like everything we're doing now is connected to something that we're going to help us in the future. And every moment is precious. Every moment is our only moment. And so, anyway, getting on too much, going into more than probably people need to hear at this point. But I fully believe in this stuff, and it's transformed my life, and I've been able to help other people in this through the same type of training and teaching. And it's not easy. Like, life is not going to be easy for us, but once we come around to understanding, like, there's nothing wrong with having a difficult life. It can still be good. Life is not easy, but it is still good. In fact, it's more rewarding sometimes the harder it is.
Right. Well, I mean, we're well over an hour here, so thanks. We really appreciate you giving your time taking the time to do this.
Oh, I'd love to anytime. I mean, you've probably gotten enough of me for tonight for the year, but I'm really glad to have been asked to do this, because I think there's a lot here, and I haven't expressed it too well, but I invite anyone to go to my Facebook page and or my YouTube channel, or my yourmove.fitness. It is named my personal training site, yourmove.fitness. I used to have a blog that I kept up there. I write better than I speak. It's kind of a Parkinson's thing, but I can't blame everything on Parkinson's. But I really developed, it makes a lot of sense when you walk through it. And so, but your own self, I tell anyone, it's your self-discovery, and just, everyone has to discover themselves, find your own path, but believe you can do it, and know there's people there to support you. You're never alone, and there's people there to support you, people just like you going through what you're going through. You're never alone. There's something in you. Remember that. Like the guy in the reason I showed you that song, starting out with so much passion in him. He didn't care what he looked like. He's a silly dancer, but it worked for him. When he sang, he meant every lyric, every word, like something inside him, a passion. And so, hopefully we all can feel that, because that's life. When you feel that passion, that's the feeling of life. And hope everyone felt a little bit of that tonight, and hopefully take some of that with you.
Okay. Thanks again, Gavin. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I enjoyed it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin.
Bye.
Bye.